Right. Hello. Welcome. What have I done with this already? It's weird. Hang on. Let's push some buttons. Oh, right. Hello. Welcome to episode 63 of the ReptiChat podcast. That's what I was trying to do. You may notice that I'm not in the studio today. That is because I have dumped loads of stuff in front of it and I can't get in there and I didn't want it empty at all. But it doesn't matter. Hopefully the sound will be all right. The video should be good enough. It is what it is. First things first, as always, Patreon. You guys and girls are on screen now. Thank you very much for all your continued support. It means a massive amount to me. If you guys want to know more, there is a link to Patreon down below. But I'm going to skip through all the spiel pretty quickly today, and it will probably be a bit of a shorter episode. Let me just check the comments. I also can't find my glasses, so if you're commenting, let me know if I'm not reading them or whatever. I can't really read them very well, so I'll try to do my best to get the comments on screen as well, but I'm not promising anything. It's been a bit of a rush today, but it's here. It's fine. I'm here even. Right, let's do sponsor. Right. Hello. Welcome. It's me, Ben, from the past, doing an advert. Pre-recorded it. It's going to be so much better than normal. So, as I am sure you are aware, today's video is sponsored by Bobby of Rango's Tats. For some reason, there seems to be a link between reptile keepers and people that have tattoos. I don't know where this love for ink and scales comes from, but the majority of reptile keepers have tattoos. And that is why Bobby of Rango's Tats has decided to support the pod for the next few months. Bobby is based over in Bishop Stortford, which is near Stansted Airport, at a studio called Obsidian Ink. I've actually got 3 tattoos from Bobby, and each and every one of them has blown my expectations out of the water. If you're a reptile keeper that likes tattoos, or a tattoo enthusiast that likes reptiles, head over Rango's Tats on Instagram. Start your message with the word ReptiChat. Hopefully you've enjoyed my new advert. Back to the podcast. Enjoy. There we go. Even on a pre-recorded advert, I can't get my words out. But it is what it is. Right. Before we get today's guest on, let's go through some comments, see who is here to join us. First up, we have Fiona. Ooh. Hey, Fee. Paul, I'm going to go to your next one instead. We've got Dan, early gang, as always. Thank you very much, Dan. Dan again. Paul, that is not the studio. It is not the studio, but it is the new laptop. Ooh. And Josh as well. Lovely to have you here. Right, so if you read the description that I haven't changed yet, you will see that my guest today is supposed to be Mr. Paul Wolves Monitors. Trying to get my words out. Unfortunately, Paul is not going to be joining me today as he is very, very under the weather. And with that, he is also now not going to Morocco with us, which is very, very sad. Very, very sad. I will miss him greatly. But that's all right because we have another guest here today who's sat in the wing. So let's get him on and then we'll explain what is going on. Aiden, lovely to have you here. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Glad to be here.
Good. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you for stooping in on a pretty short notice as well. Also, I have to apologise. My dogs are being really noisy this evening. So if you hear them barking, people listening, I apologise. It just is what it is sometimes. Right. So, Aiden, you have joined us today because obviously Paul is not very well. You are always coming to Morocco with us, and you have sort of become our Morocco guide, even though you haven't done Morocco yourself.
Yeah, a non-official guide with 0 experience in country.
Yeah, but plenty of experience elsewhere.
Yeah, outside of Morocco, I've got a fair bit of experience, so I'm somewhat of taking the lead for this trip.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's nice to have someone coming that has experience elsewhere, because besides a bit of herping locally to me, I've done nothing. I know Paul was the same. And obviously Cookie from Wildlife with Cookie is coming, and I know for a fact that he has never done any herping really. So yeah, we need your expertise, so to speak. It's going to be a bit of a weird episode. I haven't really got a what's the word I'm looking for? I haven't got a brain today. I haven't got a real schedule. But what we're going to do for today's podcast is Aiden has very kindly put together an itinerary for the entire trip. So the guys that go in know exactly what's going on each day, where we're going, what sort of things we're looking for. So I think the best way to do do the podcast is we're just going to go through the itinerary. There are a few questions that I've got on from Facebook and Instagram as well, so I'll chuck those in at some point. So, and also if you're watching and you've got any questions, obviously chuck them up and we'll try and answer those as well. So, where shall we start? Shall we start with where we're going, or shall we start with how much things have cost? What do you want to do first?
Let's start with the boring stuff first and talk about cost, and then we'll get into the more interesting stuff further on.
Cool. Okay, so first things first, why Morocco? Completely random. I was on Skyscanner looking for cheap flights to see where I could go, and we managed to get flights for like £35 return from London Gatwick direct to Agadir International Airport. Yeah, 35 quid return, obviously plus the cost of booking seats and whatnot. But yeah, that is the reason that we chose Morocco, I think.
And if you're somewhat inexperienced or just testing the waters, it would be around that price range. But if you're a bit of a junkie gear like me with all of the stuff, with camera gear, snake hooks, first aid kit, etc., I couldn't A, fit that in a carry-on, and B, legally put it in a carry-on too, because of the sharps there. I've got knives, scissors, the snake hooks, etc., large liquids. So I had to buy some check-in luggage, which is a bit of a robbery. But other than that, yeah, the actual plane ticket itself is less than £50. So absolute bargain.
Yeah, absolute bargain. And then we're going from London Gatwick to Agadir, which is like the second biggest city in Morocco. And if you don't know, Morocco is on the northwest coast, I guess, north coast of Africa. Closest European country is Portugal and Spain, I think. Yep. They're pretty much right next to each other. I think there's even ferries if you're there. But yeah, so first time going to Africa as a continent, very exciting. Once we're there, obviously, main things are accommodation and how we're getting about. So we have gone for an Airbnb. There's loads of Airbnbs, and they're all very, very affordable. The one we have booked, I think it worked out roughly about £7 per person per night. I think it was about that.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like, what's that? £30 for a group of 4 each night. It's pennies when you split it between them.
Absolute bargain.
Yeah, and then hire car. None of us have a credit card, so we had to go for a company that would let us hire a car with a zero deposit, which there are a fair few. And even though we had to go that route, which makes it slightly more expensive, the hire car was like €130, I think, in total. So at the time, it was split between 4 of us. So again, it was like £30 each. Thereabouts. So all in all, if you exclude the additional luggage, under £100 for 5 days, 4 nights in Morocco. Cheap. Couldn't even caravan in the UK for that sort of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, let me just ping up some comments quickly because I can see them coming through. Paul is dying. Josh says it's from licking all the toads. Fiona says rip. Trying to be Paul with Lucasade. I'm going to be me and Paul this week because I'll refer to my previous comment. Paul is dying. Hi guys. Hey, so weather's nice for you to tune in. Paul says, "I'm so gutted I'm not coming." Honestly, I am gutted that you are not coming.
We all are, Paul.
Yeah. But we will. Like I said, we'll use this one as like a fact-finding mission. So next time we go out, we can go. That's where Aiden got stuck in a system. So yeah, we will definitely go later in the year. However, I will probably have to bring Vicky because she is not very happy that I'm going without her. So maybe we'll take my wife as well. Yeah, so that's costing. Realistically, what we're going to be spending whilst we're there: food, fuel, water. That's it.
And just to interject as well to a comment that you just made about your wife not being happy joining us. So make it clear, this isn't a holiday.
Who listens back?
Yeah, that's right. That's fair. This isn't a holiday. This is a very short expedition.
Yeah.
So there isn't time to slack off, enjoy the cities, views, or lounge around in a pool and a hotel, etc. This is a lads trip where we're organised and we've got one aim, and that is find reptiles.
Yeah. So talking of reptiles, there are in Morocco 130 different species of herps. What's the long word for herps? Herptofaunas. Doesn't sound right.
Up to fauna.
There's 130 different species of reptile and amphibian, and turtles. I think they done tortoises, chenolians.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So all of the 130 different species. So we should have a veritable smorgasbord of stuff to find. I've got a few questions about top 5 targets. So should we go through those first and then break down what we're going to do each day?
Yeah, mate. Go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So let's have a look. So Dan has asked what is our number 1 target, and then I've got a comment from. Let me find it on my phone. Excuse me. Rural Reptiles also asked, what are your top 5 targets for the trip? So I think we start with number 5, go to number 1. Mine, to be fair, aren't in any particular order.
Yeah.
I want to find as much as we can. But what's your top 5, Aiden? And I'll see if there's anything that I want to put in there as well.
Okie doke. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I like my venomous stuff. So my top 5 targets are all 5 venomous that are in range.
Yeah.
Just to simplify it. But number 1 being the Egyptian cobra, Naja Hage. And then just working your way down there. I'd probably put puff adder at number 2. So Bitis eriatans, maybe probably the saw scaled at number 3. Echis leucogaster, and the 2 different sand vipers out there. So you've got your horned sand viper, and then which is Cerastes, and then you're just your normal sand viper, so without the horns, and they're as much as you can get the horned viper without the horns. These guys are another species, which is Cerastes vipera, and their eyes are more like aquatic sort of snakes, where their eyes are at the top of the head because they stay almost fully submerged under the sand. And then lastly, the Moorish viper, so Deboia Mauritanica, I think, Mauritanica. But yeah, that's top 5. The chance of actually finding all of those 5 in 4 days is probably like 5%, just as many species that I'm after of the targets. But obviously there's loads of other common non-venomous stuff, harmless species, and lizards as well that are interesting and fun to target. So apart from those venomous, I will still be more than happy to get any of the harmless stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think your top 5 is not dissimilar to mine. There's a few less venomous on mine, so I think in no particular order, because I can't really put them in an order. I've got the Egyptian cobra and the desert horn viper. They're my 2 top venomous snakes I'd like to find. Then we got Varanus griseus, the desert monitor. Excuse me. Euromastix nigroventris.
Yeah.
Which I'd really like to find. And then this one's a toss up, but I'd like to find, I don't care on the species, I don't know how many different species there are in Morocco, but I'd like to find a wild chameleon and I'd like to find a wild tortoise. So we shall see.
I think there's just one.
I think it's just the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Chameleon. And there's 2 tortoises there.
So we shall see. But yeah, there's so many cool things. It's hard to pick the top 5, to be fair.
It's very hard.
I was watching Ben Miles did a vlog because he was in Morocco a couple of weeks ago, and they found, and it was a bit lower down, I think, than we're going, but you never know. When they were in the systems, they found these big geckos, almost like tokay geckos, but like the African variant. I don't know exactly what the species are, but they're quite big, cresty size geckos.
They're probably Moorish geckos.
Well, I'm not sure. I can't remember what he said they were off the top of my head, but they look really cool. But every time I look at anything, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to find that. Oh, that's cool. I want to find that. Obviously, there's the helmeted geckos as well. They would be really, really cool to find. Right. What other questions have we got quickly whilst we're questioning? Dan said top 5 lizards. Dan, I think we pretty much covered it there. I don't think I can name 5 lizards we want to find, but that's 5 reptiles Different species. Riddler left me a question that just says sand. There's going to be sand in Morocco. So yeah, and then MJH Exotics says, please can you sneak me back a pair of Varanus Grusius? That would be great, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Unfortunately, I've only got a small carry-on bag, so I probably won't be able to squeeze them in for you. So yeah, right. Let's go into our itinerary. I've got it here on my phone. And I think I'm just going to do like a synopsis of it as we go. So, like I said, Aiden has put this together through much research, lots of papers you've been reading, lots of trip reports, things like that. And you've been speaking to people that you know have been and locals as well, I understand.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. So we've got the ideal herping during the day is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. roughly, and then herping at night 6 to 8 p.m. for road cruising, and then 8 p.m. 1 a.m. for night scanning. What is the difference between road cruising and night scanning?
So technically there is no definition of road cruising for time. It's just all it is you're on a car and you're cruising slowly down a road with your lights on full beam just to scan the road. As reptiles will come out at night and either cross on the road and they won't get great traction, so they're very slow, easy to catch, or those species that don't really need to bask at high temperatures, they'll come out on the road and just absorb the retaining heat on the surface of the road. So that's your road cruising. The reason why I put a time for it was because the best time to road cruise is as the sun sets. That's when you get both diurnal and nocturnal species out on the road. Obviously, your diurnals, reptiles active in the day, are going to be heading to bed and they're going to be crossing roads to find their den, their burrow, get stuck in a cistern, a well, etc. And then your nocturnal species are coming out on the hunt to drink, to move around at that time as well. So that's your ideal cruising time. And then the ideal herping at night is just the event in the past at night. I mean, you could probably have great success as well from 3 to 5 a.m., but we need sleep.
Yeah,
so any later than 2 p.m., you're already shattered and you're not really that productive and you want to get to bed by that point.
Yeah, I need a decent sleep at some point.
Yeah, probably the last day. We'll probably really limit the sleep for most of the trip, though.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I might just snuggle up to Cookie on the way home. That's not a problem at all. Yeah, exciting stuff. Right, so temperature-wise, we are looking at low to mid-20s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been checking the weather. It's been probably like 20 to 25 most days. It might be a bit up, might be a bit down, but more than enough. I'm honestly, I'm glad it's about that. I think when I looked originally, it was going to be like 30, 35, and that's a bit too hot for my liking. So yeah, it should make it a bit more comfortable, nothing else.
Very mild, yeah.
And then obviously the temperatures dropped to around 7-8 degrees, which is quite chilly overnight as well still. So make sure we wrap up warm. You are the group's first aider.
Correct, yeah.
To be fair, I imagine if there's any first aiding, it's not going to be from animal bites. It's going to be from tripping over rocks where you're not looking where you're going.
Yeah, which leads on to the next point as well, which is going to be reading out.
Yeah. So you have put beware of where you place your feet and hands at all time. You are the biggest danger to yourself. Not venomous snakes. Slips, trips, and falls account for most injuries sustained in the field. And you are a man that knows all about slips, trips, and falls.
Exactly. Getting stuck down a well, falling down waterfalls, watching friends fall down waterfalls and get stuck and having to rescue them, and then just kept falling down on the usual, slipping over mossy rocks, fallen logs, etc. You fall over all the time in the field. A little bit different from an arid environment compared to the tropics, because in the tropics you're stepping on wet everything. Nothing's ever dry.
Yeah.
Compared to where we're going to be going, everything is dry. So if you do fall over, bit of natural selection going on there.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to leave that one. And then you just advise us all to utilize iNaturalist to refresh our memories of IDs to native species in the specific ranges that we're going to.
That's right.
And then you have kindly put together a bit further down the sheet that will sort of highlights the venomous species and the non-venomous species, just to try and say that one's a bit safer. Don't go anywhere near that one.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have got a nice little map, which I don't know if you can see. Oh, we can see that. Look at that. So that's where we're going to fly into Agadir at the top, and then the plan is to work down to slightly further away each day. Because
I don't know if the viewers can get a better. There we go.
Oh, look at that! He's printed it out as well. He's a man that is prepared. Cool.
Yeah.
In fact, I might actually let's just take a little second and see if I can share my screen on my new computer, because I know the format will be slightly wrong, but that doesn't matter too
Now
much.
is the podcast going to crash because you clicked the wrong button? Let's find
No,
out.
it shouldn't now, because I've got a new fancy computer, but I do I'm not signed into the right Google account. So hang on a second. Bear with, folks. I also haven't got my glasses on, so I can't see what I'm doing properly, and I can't remember my password. Bear with. Let's, Aiden, whilst I'm trying to do this, tell us about the time that you fell down a waterfall.
I mean, there's been a couple occasions where I've fallen down waterfalls, but the most scary one was where I was lost in a remote area of northeast Thailand. And I had no batteries on my head torch, so I was just blindly walking the river or stream, whatever you want to refer it as, and I got to the peak of the waterfall and took just one wrong step and fell probably about 20-25 foot down it and knocked myself out, somewhat unconscious. I was in a daze and woke up a while after I hit the ground, and then had to sleep out in the jungle because I was entirely lost. But that's another story in itself, of being lost. But yeah, there's been many times where I've got myself injured. And even though we won't be in any even mild, let alone severe danger in the environments that are going to be herping, it's very flat, wide open, dry. I've got all the gear that I ever need in my two first aid kits to look after ourselves. So if any of us take a hard fall and clip our knee or arm, etc., on a sharp rock and cause a really bad cut, then I'm ready to get it fixed back together with super glue, as I can attain with my own injuries, my forearm where I've cut it down to the bone, herping before.
Yeah, right. I think I'm getting that.
Almost there, but yeah.
So.
If people are squeamish of getting injuries and only want to rely on going to doctors, I can attest that a bit of antibacterial to clean the wound and some super glue to put it together does the trick. And there is no difference from when you go to hospital and they glue it back together or stitch you to when you put super glue just from a shop. It's the exact.
There we go. Right. So
right, lovely.
The format's going to be slightly different because it's formatted for our phones, but I think, hang on, let me turn.
Hope it's too badly cropped, although it probably will just merge itself randomly.
What works best? Let's go like that. I think that works best. Cool. Right. So if I go, I don't know how to do this best way, but I'll just do it. Right. That's our map. So you can see. So we're flying into Agadir. Agadir is going to be our base for the entire trip. So each day we drive out to a different spot, and I believe each dot is a different day. Is that correct, Aiden?
Somewhat to a different day / big areas that we're going to be targeting. They are holding the target species, so that's why I've selected those areas.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Right. So let's go to day one. Here is day one's plan. Can I read that? Just about with my glasses. So, day plan. I'm going to read the whole thing because there are going to be guys and girls that are listening on Spotify, for example, and aren't watching it. So, day plan. Just behind. So, day one is our travel day, correct?
That's right. Correct. Yeah.
Cool. So, our flight is tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. We should land, providing there's no hiccups. I think we're due to land in Morocco about 12:30, 12:30 midday.
Yeah, about 12:15. Yeah.
So by the time we get out the airport, through customs, all that sort of stuff, go and pick up our hire cars and then go to get checked in at the Airbnb. I'm imagining it's going to be around 2-3 p.m. So that gives us time to get settled in and then go and have an explore, I guess.
That's
so
it.
day plan. Just behind our accommodation, Aiden has scouted out some open shrubland with potentially multiple cisterns for us to access. He says potentially because myself and Aiden have both been looking on Google Maps, trying to find the cisterns through Google Maps. And these cisterns are sand-coloured squares, which you think, oh, they'd show up really easily. They're a nightmare to try and spot. So, yeah, hopefully, from what I've seen, they are cisterns. What are cisterns, I hear you ask? Because honestly, before I started looking into the Morocco stuff, I was hearing people say cisterns and wells, and I was thinking like wishing well type thing. They're not. Cisterns. These cisterns and wells are they're like living room sized underground concrete holes that they normally have like a little manhole on top, and they're designed to collect rainwater, and then the locals can use the water for crops or whatever they need to. Now these are great for collecting water. Unfortunately, they're also great for collecting reptiles. They act as pitfall traps, so the reptiles go in on the hunt for some water, they find the water, and then they can't get out. So the plan for the entire trip is whilst we're driving up and down to wherever we're headed, there'll also be cisterns on the road, so we'll stop, check all the cisterns. If there's animals in there, we can pull them out and rescue them. And obviously, in doing so, we'll take photos and experience the animals whilst we're doing it. So, yeah, a good deed for the day at the same time as getting to enjoy these animals. Right, so let me see. Right, so yes, Aiden has found potentially multiple cisterns for us to access. If they fail to turn out to be cisterns, at the very least, they are large pieces of natural cover. They should provide us with potential to find any common harmless colubrids.
Either works.
Yeah, along with common agamids and geckos. As a warm-up, we'll drive down to the Souss Massa National Park, which is home to an impressive selection of Moroccan native wildlife, not just herps, their main attraction being the coastal dwelling birds, along with the critically endangered ostrich and gazelle. As for herps, all of the common stuff resides here, which we'll go on into a second. There's only two venomous species that can be found there, the Egyptian cobra and the Moorish viper. We'll spread out a bit so we can... what does that say? We'll spread out as much as possible for this venue, as habitat seems to be very poor. We may need to translocate if nothing shows up. Yeah. So, first things first on there, because I'm sure there's going to be a few questions. What are the... Where's the word? I can't put my glasses on, so this is difficult. As for herps, all of the common stuff. What common stuff are we talking?
So, there are plenty of common colubrids out there. Probably the most common, I would probably put the Shikari sand snake. Let me get the Latin up. Thamnosus shikari. And they come in two different morphs out there. You've got a striped morph and then just a plain sandy sort of colour, which I've highlighted in the document. But the base look of the animal looks the exact same. Yeah, if you could go on to it, then it could be a lot easier to talk about. There we go. It's a shame it's all cropped weirdly.
That's right. So which one are we looking for first?
So the sand snake is the left and right pictures, third pictures down.
If
I'm nice, it's Shikari, yeah. That's probably the most common colubrid out there. It's a fast diurnal lizard eater. So it spends its day in the high temps, basking at ridiculous UV, ridiculous surface and ambient temps, hunting geckos and agamids and skinks, etc. And I'm pretty sure they'd eat a snake if they outsize it as well. They're savage things.
You've got there as well that they're mildly venomous. Are we talking rear-fanged venomous? Or?
Yeah, so the mildly venomous species out there, they're all going to be rear-fanged, and there's 3 different species. The 2 different malpolons and then these guys. But they're nothing to worry about. To compare it, like a cat scratch, a bit of skin irritation, the most minuscule amount of swelling, just like if you were to bang your fingers on a desk or whatever. But it's not life-threatening. It doesn't need hospital treatment. Doesn't need to worry about. You'll get bit by these guys. There is no doubt about it. If you pick one up, you'll get bit, and there's nothing to worry about. And then the other 2 rear fang that are above. You've got your false cobra, and then you've got your largest malpolon out there. So yeah, the western malpolon.
These are ones I'm quite looking forward to seeing. Actually, is the false cobra. I keep seeing pictures of those, and they look really cool.
They are really cool snakes in the sense of their ecology. The fact that they're a harmless snake and they will spread a hood. That's very cool, just to imitate a cobra. Downside, they're stupidly quick. Like all of these rear fang venomous are stupidly quick, and opposite compared to the Shikari sand snake. These guys are actually fairly rare and are only in the southern range of our expedition. So the last 2 days we could potentially be in range and be able to find them. But the OG Western Malpolon is in range from day 1 to day 5, and that's the biggest snake of all that we'll potentially find. And the only reason why I've put it as mildly venomous but orange instead of yellow, because as much as it is mildly venomous, you do not want to get bit by these guys. Not only the fact they've got a massive head, so it actually really does hurt and it will cause some scarring. Yeah. But their venom isn't something that you want to be inside of you. As much as it's not life-threatening, I would probably put it the same as your boigas from Southeast Asia. So you're going to get more of a mild reaction compared to something that you can brush off and not even think about, because you will get a fair amount of stinging and localized pain. If you're allergic, a whole different story in itself, but the chance of that happening is like you winning the lottery, so we don't even have to consider that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good stuff. Right, let's just click off, and then let's go back to our itinerary. So that was the sort of common species we're going to be looking at, and then obviously we've mentioned the Egyptian cobra and the Moorish viper, which are, let's just get them on screen so people can see them. So that is our Egyptian cobra, one of our top 5 target species.
So I'll just note there whilst you're on that image there. So that's a subadult. Yeah, that's a smallish cobra, and you can see these guys here when they're juveniles / subadults. That's that they're sandy gravel sort of color, and then they're mottled with the black in amongst their anterior third, so their top third. As they mature, turn into adults, then they go completely black, and this example here shows that there.
Fantastic, very impressive looking snake,
which I would far prefer. And I'm not going to lie, I'd be somewhat disappointed if I find a juvenile, because I think they look pretty boring, and small cobras are annoying to handle. It's just fun to have a big cobra to mess around with.
Definitely. Okay, and then the other one we mentioned there is the Moorish viper, which is this one.
Yeah, these guys there. They're a great little viper species to mess around with too.
Awesome stuff.
So, obviously, all of our front-fanged vipers and elapids I put as highly venomous. Probably 3 of them I would put as life-threatening, that being the Egyptian cobra, the puff adder, and the saw-scaled viper.
Yeah.
The other lot, so the 2 different sand vipers, your horned sand viper and then the hornless sand viper, and the Moorish viper, I'd probably put those as, yes, it's going to require a hospital trip, but your life is going to be saved. You're not going to actually be on the worser end of the things compared to the Egyptian cobra and the 2 other vipers that I've just mentioned, puff adder and the saw-scaled.
Yeah.
Kill a fair amount of people in Africa, the saw-scaled.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't plan on going too close to anything very dangerous, but it's going to be cool to see.
You can leave that to me. I'll be picking them up.
That's fine. You've got plenty of experience handling all sorts of venomous stuff around the world, so I'm quite comfortable in your abilities. And then the night for day 1, obviously we'll have some food, and then we'll set off in the evening, do a bit of road cruising along the coastal roads until we reach our destination. And then we are looking for the Moorish viper, which we just covered as well. So that's day 1. Pretty full on, considering we've been traveling in the morning.
Which will go in a flash as well, because it's essentially a half day, if not a quarter of a day.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Day 2. This is Mirlef local puff adder spot. So it's actually a 2-hour drive from our accommodation. The day plan, the objective for the second day, we wish to target the elusive puff adder. This is a highly venomous well-revered species within the herp community, highly feared among the locals. We'll spread out between 2 locations and meet in the middle, reporting any finds, queries along the way. The locality is restricted to the coast where we'll start our day. Depending on our success, we may regroup and translocate. We shall return during the night to increase our odds of finding this elusive species, so we mustn't burn ourselves out during the day. So for this species, is there anything in particular are we just going to be driving and walking? And is there any areas that you want to be looking at in particular? What's the word I'm looking for? Habitat-wise?
Yeah, so as you've just read out, this locality is restricted to the coast, which for the most part, I'd say 3/4 of the sightings or recordings of this species is around the coast. So we have best success around those sort of areas. And when you're herping an arid, wide open environment, you're drawn towards features like rock clusters, areas of shade, shrubbery, and then cisterns. On day 2, compared to the later days of the trip, we won't be in prime habitat for these guys. This is working off one single recording of the juvenile.
Yeah.
But that we're still going to be in range of them and in better environments further on in the trip. But yeah, that's essentially how we're going to be looking for them, and our best success will be looking for them at night. These guys like the humidity and they like a cooler temp. So at night, I don't know if the viewers are already aware, worldwide, once the sun set, humidity in the environment spikes. So once the humidity goes through the roof, which is in an arid environment, it makes a big difference. Going from probably like around 10 to 30% at most in the day to probably spiking at 60% at night. That's going to promote them to be active, and they're going to be in ambush position, under shrubs, around rocks, etc. And you'll find them by eye shine. If not, just follow me, and then I'll spot them, and then that's how you'll find them.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the case anyway, because on the previous trips I've been with Aiden, just locally looking for adders and grass snakes, more than once he's gone, Ben, there's a snake right there. It's like 3, 4, 5 foot in front of us. He's like, it's clearly there. You can sit, and I'm like, no, can't see it at all. So Aiden's going to be my eyes for the trip anyway. And you've covered the night plan there as well. And then each day we're going to be driving back to the accommodation as well. A few people have suggested that you sort of stay in a different place each day, but because it's our first trip, it's nice to have a base, so we don't have to have all of our stuff in the car at the whole time. Right, day 3. Whatever that says, montane habitat. Guelmeme. Right, now we have sufficiently settled into herping. We will target a larger array of elusive and favourable species. We'll hit the montane portion of the 2 scouted locations. The main targets for these are going to be the desert horned viper, puff adder, Roman saw-scaled viper, Euros / spiny-tailed lizards, Elmorden gecko, etc., etc.
Elmordine gecko. Yeah.
Elmordine, sorry. These 2 days. So is this day 3 and day 4?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, this is my favourite area to target. It houses most of the species that we're after, and in high numbers too. So as much as these plans are written up in a Word document, they may not be set in stone. And as we get there, I may change my mind and just allow us to hit this Guelmeme habitat a lot harder.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, plenty of stuff to find this day. And then the night plan again, depending on the group's morale, we might come back to exact spot. We might go back to a location closer to the Airbnb.
Yeah,
it depends how the day goes. Because if we're all absolutely knackered, we don't want to then have to drive 3 hours back, 3 hours back. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. Right, and then what is this? Go down, computer. Thank you. Day 4. So this is our last full day. We will return to the Guelmeme area and then continue on to a scouted location along towards Assa, which is the hotspot for the desert monitor for Anascrisius and the saw-scaled viper. We shall hit the southern portion exclusively looking for the sand monitor, keeping as a single team to reduce the likelihood of the sand monitor escaping. Now, we want to see a sand monitor, and they are quick. So My wife's just walked past me, absolutely completely naked. Sorry, excuse me. You've completely thrown me. I'm not with it now. What was talking about? Sand monitors. So yeah, sand monitor, big target. Very rare. So it's quite unlikely we're going to see one, but obviously, if we see one, we want to get hands on so we can take some pictures and experience one, I guess. So if we're in a group, we can try and get hands on a bit easier. And then saw scale vipers, very, very cool snake. I can't remember who I was talking to. Maybe my mum. She was asking about them, and I was saying like, we don't get rattlesnakes, but we do get noisy snakes in the version of the saw scale viper.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
being able to capture that on camera would be really cool.
Yeah, it's the African equivalent in the ecology wise. It looks nothing like a rattlesnake, doesn't get half the size, but as the equivalent, as a defensive strategy, they rub their abrasive, highly keeled scales together and create that, hence the name, saw scaled, just like a saw going through wood. Makes a lot of noise, and that's how they let predators know that they're there.
Yeah. So yeah, fingers crossed I can get some awesome footage of that, because I have spent more money than I want to care to admit on camera for this trip. To be fair, it's not just for the trip, but it's definitely helped me push towards spending the money a little bit more. So yeah, hopefully a few decent videos will come out of this.
Fingers crossed.
That is it. So depending on the group's morale on the end of day 4, we might go back all the way down to the grisiest spot. We might do something more local. We might all be absolutely knackered and go, you know what, let's just go to bed. I doubt Aiden will let us go to bed, but we'll see how it goes. And then day 5, the final day, you can see what's on screen. We don't really have a plan for this because we're traveling back. So we've got to drop the hire car off, I think, before 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we basically got the morning. So we might decide we've all had enough and we don't want to do anything. Or we might go, oh, there's a few little habitats an hour away. Let's go and do that for a little bit. But we don't have a plan at all for Friday, really. But that is the breakdown of the Morocco trip. Let's just go through some of the animals quickly. I know it's not quite formatted correctly, but
look, it's a shame it's all gone skew on the format, because on my phone this morning it was looking lush, but put it on
I've looked at my phone, it looks spot on. I don't know if I can
goes out the window.
I don't think I can change it to like a phone mode either, unfortunately.
Most probably not.
It doesn't matter. Right, so we've done Moorish Viper, we've done Egyptian Cobra, Puff Adder. We mentioned it, but let's get it on screen because it looks stunning. So that is a Puff Adder. It's hard to tell from pictures, Aiden. What sort of size are we expecting these snakes to be?
A fully grown adult will probably be around 3 to 4 foot in range. That's a ginormous maximum size. Average size that you're going to be finding is probably only like 2 foot.
Okay. Sort of stuff. So Puff Adder, yeah, highly venomous. One of the most deadly snakes, if not the most.
Yeah. One of the most deadly snakes in Africa, just because of their potency, their massive venom yield, they've got huge heads, and also pairing the fact that they've got an incredible strike range.
Yeah.
They can lunge themselves the whole length of the animal.
Next one we have got. This is one that's definitely up there for me. This is Cerastes, the desert horned viper. Obviously gets its name because it has those awesome looking horns on the top of its head.
Yeah.
This is one that I would really like to see if we can hopefully find. And I'd love to get that sort of typical shot where it's buried in the sand, just looking at you, with just its head and its eyes poking out. So that's that one. What else we got? Sahara sand viper. So this is the derpy cousin of the Cerastes. The
Special
Cerastes
needs one.
Vipera.
Yeah, Vipera.
Yeah. So obviously, like you said, its eyes are sort of more on top of its head, a bit like anaconda. Anything that sort of is submerged. To that one again, very cool species to find, and again, very very highly venomous. Then we've got there's our saw-scaled viper. Again, very pretty. I think saw-scales are quite small as well, I believe, aren't they?
Tiny, especially as babies, they can fit in a bottle cap. So when
Wow.
they're in defensive postures, you can see where they just essentially coil themselves up. They can fit in your palm. They're that small. Even as adults, probably like maximum of 50 centimeters. I've got it in there written down, but they're tiny.
Yeah.
They're not big snakes at all.
Up to 80, but most often around 30.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
small snakes. I think that is the bottom of that as well. So then we can go harmless natives. We've covered the top ones already. These ones are a bit all over the place, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
That's all right, I think. I don't know if I can bring it forward or not.
I wonder if you want to talk about one, then I can. Yeah, I don't know if you've got you as a viewer instead of an editor, because I've also got some photos here of the harmless stuff, and I can just put that to the camera.
Okay, so we'll just do it as best we can. So here we go. This one is the horseshoe whip snake. I don't know how to pronounce the Latin on that one.
So that's the second one down there. It's the one that's like partially covered.
Okay,
it's one that I don't have photos of. The printer just buggered up when it came to that species.
What did I do a second ago?
You can't change the wrap text, can you? If you can do that, just put it in front. There you go.
That'll do for now. I'll have to change it back in a second.
Oh, mate, I don't give a toss about it. You can.
There we go. So that is which one's this one? The horseshoe whip snake.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and then the one behind it is that. I don't know what that is.
False smooth snake.
Cool. So yeah, it's a bit
Iberian false smooth snake.
Let's go. And I don't know what it's doing. Right, next one we have got this one. We're just going to roll with it as best we can. What have we got here, Aiden?
So, that's a shame.
I don't know. It's just, it is what it is, unfortunately.
The Algerian sand snake, I'm pretty sure.
Cool. And then we've got, as you can see, there's loads. So this is Nitrix Mora. Is this one?
Mora, yeah. So our closest relative to the grass snake in the UK.
Yeah, cool.
And obviously, being Natrix, they're semi-aquatic. So we'll only find those around large bodies of water, potentially on day one. I think the rest of the other days are going to be completely arid restricted, so we're not going to be able to find these guys.
Cool.
But they're a stinky natricine that completely harmless, and like our grass snake has a similar ecology.
Stuff. Right, next one. I think this is the egg-eating snake. I think.
Yeah, the Sahel egg eater.
That is pretty much self-explanatory. There, eats eggs. Cool snake. We're going to run through them. Brown house snake. Is this the same as like the African house snake that you'd get in
Correct, yeah.
pet trade?
Activity, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Moroccan locality, this one here, is just drab. There's no pattern on it. There's no dorsal stripe or vertebral stripe, and they're completely drab brown. But maybe there's some viewers here watching that find this species quite cool.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're a boid at the end of the day. It's the only boid, so a python/boa member, obviously. Yeah. Actually, did I just really bugger that up?
I don't know.
Yeah, I did. Excuse my error. They're not a boid at all. They're clubid. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. But they've got the ecology of boids where they are completely constrictors, and that's how they take down their prey.
Oh, yeah. And we have got this one. I'm going to try and do this. I don't know. Something diadem. Diadem snake?
Yes. Yeah. I wonder if that's printed out on. No, so these the mugrabine, the diadem is further down, but that's the leaf, the one that's imaged there. I think it's a leaf node. That's the mugrabine diadem. So that one there is a leaf-nosed snake. Right. They go by a few different names as well, maybe a crown snake and some other name that goes by. And if you could just zoom into it.
I think I'm pretty much that.
I wonder if I've got it here. If not, we'll just have to. Oh, look at that! It's gone double-sided. That could have. Oh, so I have all of the photos. That's my bad. So Let's get that up to the
Oh,
camera.
hang on. Let's go through.
There we go. So these guys here, their nose is very, very, very pointed and shovel-nosed. So these guys are great at burrowing and creating little dens in the sand. They're able to dig their head into the substrate and then turn their head sideways and pull out the sand and gravel and then create themselves a burrow, rather than most other snakes will depend on other animals to create those, like little mammals.
Yeah.
And then they'll overtake the burrow of the animal, eating it in the process. Or if it's just inactive, they'll just dwell in it and take ownership of these. But these guys can make their own burrow.
Cool. Let's try and get this one back up for a second. And then this is the diadem snake. This is one I see this seems like quite a common species that I've seen.
Yeah, so in the further south of our range, these guys are pretty common. And they're somewhat large as well. You know, average, probably look like sort of corn snake-ish size.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys, and they somewhat closely resemble your North American rat snakes.
Yes.
So yeah, they're a pretty cool little species for reptile keepers to find in the wild.
Definitely. And then I think that is it for snakes. And we have got some lizards on here as well. I don't know how many lizards we ended up doing in the end, and they're all over the place. I don't know if you want to see.
I completely deleted the tab, so they're going to be bloody all over the place.
They're all over the place. There we go. That's the Varanus Christus.
That's the only one that we should care about right there. All the geckos, you'll find them all over the time. The main target, well, the main two, is obviously your sand monitor, Varanus agrissius, and then your Moroccan spiny tail or your Moroccan Uromastyx.
Yeah. So yeah, that pretty much sums up what we're going to be doing from. Well, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning or just before. So the next 5 days are going to be pretty full on.
That's right.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. I cannot wait. I'm gutted that Paul can't make it with us. So hopefully he can stay at home, rest up, and he'll be feeling right as rain by the time we get back, because I know he's not very well at all at the moment. So in the meantime, go and send Paul some healing messages on Instagram. I'm sure he'll love that. But yeah, I don't think there's any more questions that have come up that I haven't answered. I just want to let's go through that quickly. TJ Guilford says, I would love to go to Morocco just to see a Montpellier snake. Always love their look. They have them quite at other places. Well, like France, they've got Montpellier snakes in France, I believe, as well. So you don't have to go as far as Morocco to find them.
Yeah, and you'll have much better success in southern France for these guys too.
And then Catty says, hey, Ops, sorry for dropping in late. Catty, I appreciate you popping in whenever it is. Doesn't matter that you were late. Cool. Right. I think, mate, we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to go spend some time with my wife, and I will see you at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, I will see you, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be back in a few weeks. So, until then, have a nice time. I've been Ben. That's been Aiden. And until next time, bye-bye.